Today's class is about the passive, right? We got two different voices, we got two different kinds of sentences. One is active and the other one is passive. What does it mean, an active sentence? An active sentence is when the subject does the action. For example, let's give an example about the active sentence. We got an active voice, which is, what do? I teach English. So we have here the subject and we have the verb teach. So the subject in this case is active. I do the action. So I teach English because I do the action. The subject, this subject is, this subject is active, right? That's the verb. Then if you want to do a passive sentence, then we'll see why we do the passive sentence. Okay. What we have to do is, from the active sentence, we got the object. That in this case is an object, but in that case it's going to be a subject. And we say English, this is going to be the subject. Then we need to implement, to put the verb to be in the tense you like. So in that case it's present, let's say to be in present tense. And then we also need to add our past participle. Past participle of the verb. In that case, the past participle of teach is taught, because the past participle, we got regulars and irregulars. When it's regular verb, we say the verb ending with ed, and when it's irregular, we need the third column. For the verb teach, we need the third column because it's irregular, so that would be teach, taught, right? Here we got the passive sentence. Here we have the active sentence. It means that the active, I said it again, active is the subject. The subject is doing the action. So I teach English, I do the action. Whereas in the passive sentence, the subject does not the action, and the action is done to him. So English is taught. How can I create a passive sentence? Simple. The subject, the passive subject, plus the verb to be, plus the past participle. Past participle, we got regulars, ed, we got irregulars, third column. Okay, and if it's important to say who does the action, we're gonna add it like by. So English is taught by, and in that case, by me. Okay? And this is the passive. So why do we have two sentences? Why do we have two different kinds of sentences? Why do we have active or we have passive? Let's take a look at these sentences. For example, we got one action. We got first an active sentence. Someone builds a house. Okay? So this sentence is active, because this person, this subject, someone, does the action, builds the house, right? Then it's active sentence. But what is the most important thing in this sentence? The most important thing when you say someone builds a house is that someone builds a house. Someone is the most important thing. And really, is it important in that case? Is it someone important in this sentence? Or is the house more important than someone? Okay? So when we want to emphasize on the object, we need to put the object first. In that case, it would be house. We need to create a passive sentence. Okay? We need to create that passive sentence. So we got the object, now it's the subject, and let's say a house. Then we need the verb to be in the same tense. For example, is, in the past participle, third column, ed. In that case, past participle is built. What's happening here? A house is built. This is the most important. What is the most important thing? The most important thing in that case is a house is built. Okay? So that's the difference between active and passive. You know, if you want to make it clear that someone is the most important thing in a sentence, then you must create an active sentence. If you want to emphasize that the house is the most important thing, you must create a passive sentence. So, a house is built. Is it important to say by someone? Well, in that case, we do not need to write down by someone. Okay, so that's not important. A house is built. Okay, so let's say, for example, let's give another example of passive sentence. If we are talking about Steven Spielberg, for example, and we say about his biography and the filmography, the films that he has shot. Okay, let's say, for example, that Steven Spielberg directed E.T. You know, if you're talking about Steven Spielberg, what is the most important thing? It's Steven Spielberg, right? So that's why we create an active sentence. We say, Steven Spielberg, most important thing, does this action, directed in past, and directed, which film directed? E.T., right? But if we are talking about the film E.T., then the most important thing is E.T., not Steven Spielberg. So we need to create a passive sentence. Why? To make it clear, to make E.T. the most important thing. So E.T., and again, the passive sentence. Which tense is it? This is past, so we need to write down the verb to be in past. E.T. was, and then the past participle. As in this case, it's regular. It's going to be exactly the same. It is directed, or was directed, by Steven Spielberg. So that's why we create a passive sentence. Again, I'm going to review a little bit. We got two different kinds of sentences. We got the active sentence, that the subject creates, does the action. We got this active sentence. While in passive sentence, the subject does not do the action, if not the action is done. For example, here we have these examples, right? What do we need to create a passive sentence? We need the verb to be plus past participle. Right? So we got the subject, got the verb to be in the tense you like, no matter what tense you wanna. You can say it in present, in past, in future, and that's gonna be the most important thing. And then we have the past participle of the verb. If you want to add the action, let's say by. English is taught by me. But again, here it is. Why do we use the active or passive sentence when we don't know the subject or when we want to emphasize on the object? Like this case. Someone builds a house is built. Okay? What's the most important thing in this? A house. What's the most important thing? Someone. Okay? And as I said before, to give an example about Steven Spielberg, if you talk about Steven Spielberg's filmography, you would say Steven Spielberg directed E.T. And if you talk about E.T., the most important thing would be to do an active and a passive sentence. E.T. was directed by Steven Spielberg. Okay, hope you learn it, hope it's going to be useful, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.